Good morning, friends. I welcome all today's lecture. The first lesson for third semester today, students. The touch. The name of the lesson is The Touch. It was written by Aburi Chayadevi. We will study about the Aburi Chayadevi. Aburi Chayadevi is a well-known Telugu fiction writer, born on 13th October 1933 in Rajahmundry, Andhra Pradesh. She won the Sahitya Academy Award in Telugu in 2005 for Tana Margam, a collection of short stories. She was born in Telugu state, Andhra Pradesh. The place is Rajahmundry. She is a well-known writer. That's why she won the Sahitya Academy Award in Telugu in 2005 for her collection of short stories. It was called Tana Margam. Most of her stories deal with the problems of women who face various kinds of discrimination in patriarchal society. Always she focus on women problems, how they are facing in the present society. She married Aburi Varadarajeshwar Rao, who came from a family of literature. Same, she also as a writer, he is also from background of literature. She had worked as a librarian at Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Sometimes many years she worked there. She had took a voluntary retirement from there and settled down in Hyderabad. Okay, then we move to the main text, The Touch. So it is quite well known that Indian parents are greatly obsessed with having a male child in the family. Generally, we all know that every parents, they want a male child than girl. In the present society also, many parents expecting like this. It is an archaic culture perception that the male child is the one who perpetuates the family line and the one who performs the last rites of the parents to free from their earthly bonds. In the present society also, not only in ancient, in present also, parents believe that this kind of attitude, if you have a male child, he can freely perform some rituals after their death. So this is a disbelief in the present society. Even present also people follow this kind of attitude. But daughters on the other hand love and respect their parents and crave for their attention as much as sons. Even daughters also plays an important role to perform their love, affection for their parents. But parents don't believe the girls, only they give importance to the only daughters, because there are number of reasons, but that is not correct way. We can learn from the following story that the sentimental daughter who craved for the assured and affectionate touch means sparsha of her father since her childhood, always felt intimidated by his imposing presence. She wants to touch her father and she wants to talk with her father, and also she wants to play with her father, but there are many conditions are imposed her, so she can't do this kind of activities during her childhood. Ironically, it is the octogenarian father who craves for the touch of his daughter at the end. In the last of the story, even her father craves for the touch of his daughter at the end. Octogenarian means 80 to 90 years old age people. Okay, then we move to the main text. Here the story was told by a narrator, our writer himself, herself. The touch. When I arrived, I found father lying out on the stirring cot facing the wall. I had left my slippers outside on the threshold, so my footsteps did not give away my presence. I went right up to the cot and asked, "Are you asleep?" One day, our narrator went to her father's house, and when she went to her father, he was sleeping. She asked her father, "Are you asleep?" Then her father replied, "Who is it? Who is it?" He asked as he returned on his side. "It's I replied. The narrator replied. "Come, sit here," he said, continuing a lie stretched out when he heard me pulling the steel chair and preparing to sit down. He asked, "Why do you want to sit so far away? Come and sit close to me." He sat up to make space for me, patting the place on the cot next to him. After she went to her father, she was trying to sitting there. Her father asked, "Why do you sit far away to me? Please come and sit beside me very close." I sat on the edge of the cot. Groping, father patted me on my back. Then he felt the place next to him on the cot and said, "Sit comfortably, Amma." He is trying to say her daughter, "Please sit here," and she is patting her back, and also is craving the love of her daughter. I shifted a little, making myself comfortable. She sits very closer to him. He groped the hair in front of him, gripped my hand, held it in both his, and said, "I have been looking forward to your visit. Is everyone all right?" So after she sat there, he asked about her life and how she is leading her family and something. She said, "Yes," I said softly. He didn't say anything else and silently stroked my hand. He is trying to pat and trying to hold her daughter. He wants to touch her daughter. Once, as a teenager, we had to go somewhere in a rickshaw. Though the rickshaw was spacious, I sat huddled at the far end. When she was when they used to go out, she used to sit a corner place because of fear of her father. "Sit properly, Amma, you will fall off," father had said, but her father now said like this. I had hesitated and moved just an inch closer to him. She closer to him and she sat comfortably. From the time I learnt my first letters of the alphabet, father had kept me at a distance in the name of discipline and because of Madi, his orthodox way of life. I never had the courage to touch him. I had always felt that he was in a state of ritual purity. I was used to slipping into my cocoon, so how could I ever think of sitting close to him in the rickshaw, our bodies touching? When she was young, her father imposing different conditions to sit like that, to talk like that, don't behave like that, and there are many conditions imposed her. She raised like that. When children return from school, if you embrace them lovingly and carefully question them, they open up and chirp like happy birds. Instead, if they are greeted harshly at the threshold with how much did you score in maths or have you bought your report card, they die of fright. I died many such deaths over some 20 years. I still haven't got over the difference they created. She remembers her past life, how his father treats her, when how he conditioned her, how he maintained discipline, how put her in a conditioned way. She is trying to remember everything during her past life. Father is over 80 now, but her father is now 80 years old. Past the age of recovering his sight, even if his eyes were to be opened upon, though he is otherwise healthy. His poor eyesight has made him weak. He has spent the last 2 years in bed. He has been on the bed from 2 years. His sight is decreasing. That's why he is not maintained properly. He is unable to walk and do his things in the age of 8 years now. My husband and I had come to town on hearing that my mother-in-law was not well to spend time with her. Our narrator and her husband came to this town where her father is staying. They came to see her mother-in-law was not well. Meanwhile, I managed to visit my parents once in a while as they live in the same town. If any time she came like that, she visited her parents. Same way, right now she visited her father. On such visits, I spent about half an hour chatting with the father. To sit close to father is to revive a faint memory of childhood. When she sat beside her father, she always trying to collect her ancient or past memories, how her father treats her. When he took my hand into his and stroked it with love, the longing I had felt as a child for such a touch flooded my inner being and tears welled in my eyes. I choked. I couldn't speak. Would he understand that I had once longed for his loving touch? When she was a young, she used to touch her father. She longed. She wants to touch her father, but her father kept her away in the name of discipline and purity. Now, to see these all kinds of her father doing, she is welled with tears, welled in tears in her eyes. Perhaps all the love and affection that had flowed between us in letters evaporated in his sharp, intense look whenever we came face to face. Even in early childhood, I used to avoid him to escape his piercing glances that had hurt like scorching sun rays. Now, though I knew that they had been extinguished, why was I still unable to feel free with him? When she was young, she always feared to talk with the father. Same way, right now she is feeling like that. So she thought, how can I now, though I knew that they had been extinguished, why was I still unable to feel free with him? She thinks like that. The first time I visited him in his illness, I noticed bugs on the cot. The first time I visited, our narrator visited her father when he is a illness. I noticed narrator noticed bugs on the cot. I had picked up a couple of them and silently crushed them underfoot. When she picked some bugs on the cot and kept them down, and she crushed them underfoot. Later, my husband noticed a bug on our bed and had been upset. I told him that it had probably crept into my clothes when I had sat on my father's bed. One day, our narrator husband found found a bug on her. He feels uncomfortable. She told him about the where it was crept on me. While she was visited her father, maybe it crept on me. As I was leaving that day to visit my father, my husband cautioned me not to sit on my father's bed, but to pull up a chair and sit a little away. When I wanted to visit my father's house, my husband, our narrator husband, cautioned her not to sit beside your father. Don't sit hill people, beside hill people. So, but as I pulled my chair away, father asked me to sit closer to him. How could I not? He was not happy until I was almost leaning against him and had his hands in mine. If I sit away from him, he feels uncomfortable. That's why I sat beside my father. Our narrator is saying like that. Then, father had longed for sons all his life, but was now left with only his daughters. Father had longed for sons all his life, but was not now left with only his daughters. He is my father also, and here narrator's father also always longed for sons, but now there is no sons beside him. Only his daughters are close to him. At the end of his life, he had lost his grown son and perpetuator of his name. Perhaps that is what destiny means. When my brother died, I had hesitated to face my father. Some unknown feeling of guilt had held me back. I had felt like taking him in my arms and reassuring him, saying, "Don't worry, I am here," but I hesitated even to touch him. That is how I had been raised. Actually, narrator's father also longed for sons, but unfortunately, our son was died. Now he is helpless. So our narrator wants to assure him, but there are some obligations for our side. After I chatted with him for a while, he asked me to clip his nails. After some time, he asked her, please clip my nails. Asking mother to do it would be as useless as a mortar weeping on the shoulder of the drum. So there is no use to ask other people to clip his nails. That's why he asked narrator to clip his nails. His brother was not alive to do it, nor were his children around. That's why he asked our narrator to clip his nails. Not that he couldn't ask my sister-in-law, but perhaps he wanted me to do something for him. I was elated and did the job carefully. So there is no one help to him. That's why our narrator did this kind of responsible work there. Perhaps father was feeling depressed. He stroked my hand and said, "It would be so nice if you moved into this town. I could stay with you." I looked at him helplessly. He couldn't see. I couldn't reassure him with words either. He wanted to stay with our narrator, but she is married now. She has some obligations with her husband. That's why she didn't speak any word. She just sit and see her father. Father didn't speak again and was silent as he stroked my hand. He understood everything what is going on. At that moment, my education, my job, and everything else appeared vain, superficial. I sat for a while before leaving. When she asked, she wanted to stay with her father, but she has some obligations from her side. That's why she thought my job, my career, everything is vain and superficial after seeing this condition of her father. But as I returned in the rickshaw, father's tender touch haunted me. Tears welled in my eyes and blurred my view of the road. After leaving her father, she is collecting the events, how her father touched her and sat with her, and how he talks. Everything she is collecting, and she is mm, mm, sees tears welled in her eyes and blurred to see the road when she is traveling in the rickshaw. Then I hope you understand the text. Once again, I will tell you the gist of the lesson. Then you remember always. It is also useful to write in exams also. Okay. What is the gist of the story? The story throws light on the issues surrounding the upbringing of a girl child in a predominantly patriarchal Indian society. At another level, the story focuses on issues of parenting, orthodoxy, and the sense of helplessness in old age. These are 2-3 main points in this story. In this story, the narrator has craved for the assured and affectionate touch of her father since her childhood. In the name of discipline or ritual purity, in Orthodox belief, the father kept his daughter at a distance. She never dared to touch her father during her childhood. The father thought that the son is the perpetuator of his family name and one who would free him from his eternal bondage after his death. But in the story, his hopes were shattered. As his son died at a young age, on one of her visits, the daughter wanted to reassure her father by taking him into her arms. Earlier, the touch of her father was a dream for her. But now, in his old age and lonely state, it was her father who craved for her touch. He touched her affectionately and asked to be with him. At that moment of joy, she felt as if her education, job, and everything else was superficial. As she had her own family obligations, she took leave of her father, but she was filled with joy at the memory of the tender touch of her father. She continued to cherish the memory. This is the story of touch. It was written by Aburi Chai Devi. I hope you understand well. Thank you very much. I look forward to you all in the next lecture. Thank you very much.